crap, forgot my sunglasses. What's up, everybody? I want to make a short little video that I will refer to as an admission of guilt, we shall say. And yeah, I'm wearing shorts and riding. Spare me the dress for the crash speech. I've wrecked on pavement twice in my life. I kind of know what I'm in for if I go down. Don't ever ride in shorts and tennis shoes, but I'm doing it now. So, an admission of guilt, I have made a mistake. It didn't cost me anything, luckily, but I suppose it could have. So if we back up, maybe, one KLR video, I suppose, where I run out of gas on the side of the highway, and teach you that neat trick about how when that happens to you, you can lay the bike over on its side and get some quantity of fuel back over to the petcock side, thus getting yourself to hopefully the next gas station. So anyway, prior to that video, I mean like the day before, I serviced the KLR. So whenever I do a service, at the very minimum, I'm doing oil and an oil filter, and then also doing the air filter. And being a medical machinist by trade, and prior to that I was in the aerospace industry, so 2.5 years of being an aerospace machinist, and then 5 years of being a medical machinist. It's like I pay attention to things like in great detail. And then prior to ever being a machinist, that kind of led me down that path. Being a machinist that's what my dad did, and he always taught me the same thing: pay attention to detail, especially when you're working with your hands, working with tools, tearing stuff apart, putting stuff back together. So I failed myself the other day when I was doing my service. I drained my oil. While my oil was draining, pulled the oil filter out, threw a new oil filter in, remembered my tube that goes inside the oil filter, got that all buttoned back up, and then when the oil finished draining, I cleaned off my drain plug, which I always do with a little shop rag, and then I cleaned off the mating surface where the drain bolt shoulders up against when you tighten it down, and then I put it all back together, and I put oil in it, and I rode. Well, when I ran out of gas that day, I got home and I noticed a couple drops of oil on the pavement where I parked the bike. Thought, well, that's not good. It's a Japanese product, not a American Harley Davidson. It shouldn't be leaking oil. So anyway, lay down, look up under the bike. Sure enough, there's a drop of oil about to fall off the drain bolt itself as we speak. So I wipe that off, and I think, you know what, maybe I just didn't get it as tight as I thought I did. I usually, on the drain bolt of any vehicle, really, car, truck, motorcycle, I usually don't use a torque wrench. I just kind of get her down snug, and then put on it what I feel is necessary. And it's never led me astray. I've never stripped one out. I've never had one leak. So I thought, well, stuff happens. Even though I specifically remember telling myself I was ready to put oil in it, like, hey, I've tightened the bolts over the cover for the oil filter, I've tightened the drain bolt, went through all that stuff in my head after I did it. So I know I did it, and I thought maybe I didn't get tight enough. So sure enough, it wasn't very tight. If I had to guess, 6 or 7 foot-pounds. And I thought, well, that's, whatever. We'll actually put the torque wrench on it. So I Google it, Klr650 calls for 21 foot-pounds on the drain bolt. I do not have the stock drain bolt. I have a Tusk magnetic drain bolt, and for reasons that I won't go into deep depth explaining, I went to 15 foot-pounds on my torque wrench, which I trust pretty well, and torqued it down. It took maybe 1/16 of a turn to go from wherever I had it to 15 foot-pounds, if that. Like, alright, well, I'm good to go now. So a couple days go by. We haven't had rain in like a week and a half, 2 weeks here in Alabama, so I was riding the bike every day. So 2 or 3 days go by, that's 300 miles, and sure enough, at a slower pace, but still occurring, I've got oil dripping in my garage underneath the bike. So I'm like, I've got to figure this out, because this is, if nothing else, it just bugs the piss out of me. So I lay down under the bike, I'm cleaning the bottom of the engine off and everything, and wondering if I should up it to 21 foot-pounds. I was like, why is this thing leaking? It don't make sense, yada yada. I know that I cleaned off the mating surface real well, but I guess it's possible that there's a piece of debris in there. And then it dawns on me while I'm laying there staring at the drain bolt that I have screwed up what I consider to be pretty serious. I mean, it's not really that serious, but it bugs me when I make a stupid mistake like this. And I'm approaching my parents' house where they have 2 ribeye steaks waiting for me. So, to be continued. So right where we left off at, so oh yeah, so I figured out what was wrong. When I remove my drain bolt, I normally back it out maybe halfway, and then usually take my fingernails and make sure I pluck the washer, which normally, not always, but normally sticks to the engine case. Well, I didn't do that this time. I just unscrewed the drain bolt the whole way out. So while my oil was draining, the washer unstuck itself from the case. Fell into my catch pan, which is not an actual dedicated oil catch pan. It's just a 1 gallon paint can with no kind of strainer or anything on top. So, as you could imagine, I never noticed that I was missing it. I should have noticed I was missing it, but I didn't. And that's what makes me mad at myself for not paying close enough attention to realize that I had dumped that thing, because enough time had passed that I normally would have took my oil and I put it in 1 gallon, like old dish containers or something, dish soap or 1 gallon laundry detergent, and I carry it to AutoZone and recycle it. Well, I normally don't wait very long to do that, so luckily I hadn't done anything with the oil yet. So I pour it off into another container. Sure enough, my washer is in the bottom of my paint can. So I get it out, clean it off real good, and then I take a 1 gallon water jug. It just looks like a 1 gallon milk jug. Cut the top off of it, take a cloth and clean any drops of water left in it out, and because I don't want to have to put brand new oil in it again when it's only got a couple hundred miles on it. So I strain my oil, catch it in a clean container, get my washer put back on my bolt, clean my bolt off, all that good stuff, put it all back together, and it hadn't leaked a drop since. But it just goes to show you that even when you're doing the simple things that you've done like 100 times, you still really need to pay attention. And I said, luckily in my case, the bolt and the case made it up good enough that it was just a couple drips over a couple days, so I could have went the entire oil change and probably not lost enough to negatively affect the engine. But not everybody's may be that good. Yours may leak more often, and there's no telling how much it leaked when everything heated up. I would actually like to think that when everything heated up, it was leaking less or not at all, and then as the bike cooled off is when it developed the leak. Because as everything heats up in the case, you know, the aluminum expands, the bolt gets hot and expands. You would think it would leak less as all the gaps seal up tighter, but no way to know that. Doesn't matter now. But like I said, just wanted to make a short video and point that out. It's something you got to be aware of, just paying attention. I remember that day, I thought I was paying pretty good attention, but I do know that my wife and child were in the garage with me, and I was talking to my wife, and I had music playing, and my head just wasn't in it. When your head's not in it, you'll miss something. And in this case, it was something small. If your scratches case, you're gonna lose your pannier lid going down the highway. You know, it's always something. It can always be something if you don't pay attention. So anyway, in conclusion, I hope everyone has a great Memorial Day weekend. I hope everyone was safe. Hope you got to ride if you had a day off today. And then obviously, thanks to all our veterans, military, thanks to all our EMS, I mean anybody who gives up or enters into a line of work where they sacrifice for others. There's not words to express, you know, the amount of thanks they should receive for doing that. And hopefully they do receive the thanks they deserve from at least the majority of the population. So thanks to them. Like I said, hope you have a great holiday weekend. If it was a holiday weekend for you, if you got the day off work, spend time with your family, go ride, do whatever hobbies you enjoy doing. Remember, I do have stickers. The email address for those is in the description. It is DirtRider22, the letter A, and then the @ symbol, AOL.com. Like I said, link in the description if you want one of those. Subscribe, like, comment if you've made a silly mistake like this, and if it's cost you, or maybe you made a silly mistake like this and it didn't cost you, like my case. But either way, comment, let me know about it, and we'll catch y'all next time.